Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up tonight, we'll have a roundup of the latest news headlines and all the latest sports news ahead of the weekend. And I'll be reviewing the week's regional papers with my guest, Sam Whitaker of the Grimsby Institute. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Friday's programme with me, Luke Adams. First tonight, the Hull and Humber Chamber of Commerce is calling on the government to abolish the Humber Bridge tolls. It comes after it was announced today that tolls on the 7 bridges between Wales and England will be scrapped by 2018. Chief Executive of the Chamber, Dr Ian Kelly, said writing off the remaining debts of the Humber Bridge would save commuters around £700 a year, boosting the local economy.
I think that it's right if public money is going into organisations that there is transparency. I'm really disappointed that what is highlighted
Grimsby says the BBC's gender pay gap needs urgently addressing. Melanie On has been speaking to us today following the disclosure of the corporation's highest earners. She says the decision to tell the public how much their biggest stars are earning is the right move.
I think that it's right if public money is going into organisations that there is transparency. I'm really disappointed that what it's highlighted is a big gap in the amount that women and men are paid, and so I think that's something that the BBC really urgently needs to address. And I also think it's highlighted the difference. You know, somebody earning £2.2 million a year because they've managed to get themselves a talent contract, compared to somebody who's working in the back room of the BBC, perhaps doing security for the BBC or working on the cameras for the BBC. They're not going to be earning anything like that salary. So there's a huge disparity, and I think that needs to be addressed as well.
The housing charity Shoreline has announced plans for a new development in Grimsby. They've submitted a plan to North East Lincolnshire Council to convert 2 former garage sites off Freeman Street and the Nunsthorpe estate into affordable homes. If approved, 23 properties will be built. North Lincolnshire Council is investing over £300,000 in improving parks and community facilities across the county. A total of £316,000 over the next 2 years will see a number of improvements made, including Baysgarth Park in Barton and the Children's Playground on Everest Road in Scunthorpe. A service for members of Hull's LGBT+ community takes place tonight. It's ahead of Pride in Hull, which takes place tomorrow, and the city's LGBT 50 celebrations. The service will be held at Hull Minster, hosted by the Reverend Matt Woodcock, and visiting transgender priest Rachel Mann for the community, their friends, families and allies. A teenager in North Lincolnshire has had his hair cut, all in aid for charity. Dregan Ashley suffers from congenital myotonic dystrophy, a rare form of muscular dystrophy. His family are one of 4 in the country who set up the Congenital Myotonic Dystrophy Fight Fund and Families in Action. In nearly 2 years, they've raised over £75,000, which will be donated to researching the condition. A symptom of the condition involves early balding, and yesterday, Dregan chose to cut his hair for the cancer charity Little Princess. Dregan's mother, Emma Jane, hopes that the event continues her mission to raise awareness of the condition.
Congenital myotonic dystrophy is a form of muscular dystrophy. It's the early onset childhood from birth form of myotonic dystrophy, which is usually adult onset. It doesn't just affect arms and legs, it's a neuromuscular condition. It affects every single part of the body, the heart, the lungs, swallowing, speech, everything. I don't actually think there's a part of the body that isn't affected by it. So it is very serious, and it is life-limiting and life-shortening. So when Dregan got his diagnosis age 15, he was quite late with his diagnosis. We suddenly realised that he'd lost 15 years, and now every day is his best day. Myself and 4 other families around the UK set up the Congenital Myotonic Dystrophy Fight Fund to raise awareness of the condition and also to fund research and provide family support. So Dregan hasn't been able to get involved too much with things like doing runs and marathons because he's obviously affected by the condition. So he's decided that he would like to have his hair cut for charity. One of the symptoms of myotonic dystrophy is early onset balding, and Dregan's now 17, 18 in September, and his hair does come out a lot on his pillow, in his hands. So to try and make something positive about this, not one of the life-threatening symptoms of the condition, but quite a severe one, is to do it for charity. So Dragan's going to cut his hair, and he's actually donating it to Little Princess Trust to make long hair wigs for children with cancer. For us, and for raising awareness, I believe, raising awareness of the condition. Not many people have heard of it. We hadn't heard of it. We go into rooms and do talks, and nobody in the room has heard of it. So raising awareness of the condition, and also raising funds so that we can provide more family support and provide more funds for research, so we can hopefully get a cure one day.
Open-top bus stalls start around Hull city centre tomorrow. They're taking in some of the city's various hotspots, giving visitors an insight into Hull past and present. The Hull Explorer, run by the local bus company East Yorkshire Motor Services, will have 6 journeys a day except Tuesday. They'll run until the 3rd of September. Tour guide Debbie Regan is hopeful that the attraction will appeal to both visitors and Hull Ensians alike.
For the people of the city, I'm hoping they'll learn something new about places that they pass by all of the time and it hadn't even occurred to them before. And for visitors outside of the city, again, they will learn a lot. We started off in Queen Victoria Square, and there's a great concentration of interesting things to look at there. The City Hall, Queen Victoria statue, the fountains of course, the Beverley Gate, and after that we made our way on to Wilberforce Drive, to the Wilberforce Monument, and then round to the Old Town, to the Museums Quarter.
I think it's great. It's a different view of the city. I mean, I know ground level stuff is fine, great, but you see so much more from the top of a bus. Be it the closed top bus or the open top bus, of course, as well. But this one really does give you a new view of the city for residents as well as visitors, I hasten to add. I'm sure a lot of our residents haven't seen some of the city that we saw today.
Time to have a look through the week's papers now with my guest, Sam Whitaker, Group Director of Strategic Projects at the Grimsby Institute. Good evening, Sam. Welcome to the programme. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Good evening.
Sam, first of all, you're involved with modal training, which is a relatively new enterprise in Immingham, I believe.
Yes, it is. It's a £7 million investment, which
Fantastic.
is co-funded by the Grimsby Institute and the Humber Local Enterprise Partnership, and it focuses on delivering training and working with businesses across ports, logistics and energy sectors.
Okay, fantastic. So it's fairly in its early stages at the moment, Sam?
Yeah, we opened the doors properly in April this year, so
Okay.
only a couple of months ago, and we're in that build-up stage now of delivering training.
Fantastic. And things going well so far today?
Yes, they are, yeah.
And how do you see the next few years going?
Very hectic, very busy as we build up that offer and work with more employers, but it's a key part of the Institute's growth strategy and to bring in more commercial income and less reliance on government funding.
And keeping a lot of that training in this local area as well, which is vitally important to, you would probably say, the local economy.
Exactly. The reason that it's part funded by the Humber Local Enterprise Partnership is so that we can be measured in terms of our impact on the local economy, local training outputs, jobs, engaging young people in sectors that don't necessarily know about the jobs that exist.
Sure, fantastic, Sam. I wish you all the best with the
Thank you.
project. Sam, moving on to the papers, what's the first story you picked out this evening, please?
I think the first one really is the rather ambitious bid by Hull to become
yes,
Channel 4's new base.
exciting news, big news for this area particularly.
I think it is, and it's really, I think, a sign of the confidence that the city's gained and the region off the back of City of Culture status, that these opportunities are not just pie in the sky. There's a genuine chance that these can be pulled together. The way that the creative community works within the region and the spotlight that's on Hull for this particular year, I think will only put it in good stead.
Absolutely. And Sam, I think, well, it was Hull City Council who made the bid.
Yep.
Well, they announced that they was going to make a bid for Channel 4 to be the new home of in Hull for Channel 4.
Yeah.
And obviously that's in light of the fantastic year that Hull is celebrating with City of Culture. Do you think City of Culture has helped put Hull on the map in a big way, and maybe Channel 4 will see that and think, actually, we could set a home there because Hull is a great place to live, work and develop businesses?
Yeah, I think it's a sign of all of that, really. The spotlight is on the city for all the right reasons. It's, not just Channel 4's interest, but it's hosting national exhibitions. It's gaining significant coverage in the national and international media, and I think that's only going to put Hull in a better position when the boardroom at Channel 4 are considering their options. It's a great place to do business. We've got real talent in the area. We've seen the investments in the fruit market with C4DI and buildings like that. It's the perfect location for it. Other well-known media operations have moved out of London, and I see there's no reason why Channel 4 couldn't do the same.
Because of course Media City in Salford is doing tremendously well. You're not being in that London hub.
Yeah.
Do you think in some respects London businesses can thrive outside of the city, as perhaps Media City has obviously shown to be successful?
I think they can do. I think connectivity is still going to be an issue in terms of those travelling up from London or around the country, and I think obviously there's infrastructure projects happening on the west side of the country that are going to assist Salford, for example, and Manchester, but we need to see the same on this side of the country, and I think it's still a great place to set up business and do business. And we are only 2.5 hours away from London. It's not
far,
a million miles.
Not far at all.
Yeah.
What's your views on Hull? Because I can tell you're a southerner, Sam, with a very thick southern accent. How long have you been in this region?
I moved up here. I started working up here back in 2008 when I was part of the bid team for Hull's Building Schools for the Future programme. I ended up becoming chief executive of that partnership back in 2009 and moved up in 2010. So I've been up here long enough, I think, to pick up certain elements of the accent, but I love it up here. I think it's a fantastic place. The whole Humber region has a lot going for it.
We're great that you're part of our world now, Sam. We'll leave it there for now. We're going to go for a quick break, but join me after the break. We'll continue our review of the week's papers, and Dan brings us a roundup of the latest sporting action. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, all the latest sports news with Dan. Now, still with me in the studio, Sam Whitaker, as we continue our look through the week's papers. Sam, what's our next story?
Well, it follows on from Hull's Year in the Spotlight, and that's the Pride in Hull festival,
which kicks off. Yes, well, there's a service night at Hull Minster, as we saw in the headlines a little while ago, and the Pride in Hull event takes place in the city tomorrow, and then of course there's a week-long LGBT 15 celebrations. Yeah. So lots going on, I think, in the city, isn't there?
I think it is, and you know, we know from the other festivals that Hull puts on, they'll put on a show. It will get fantastic coverage, and there's something for everyone. There's theatre, there's music, there's comedy. It's a real celebration.
Yeah. And what I particularly like about the Pride events is, yes, it's an event for the LGBT community, but it's that obviously to mark of solidarity, but the straight community are part of that as well. And do you think that's in a good way now that, you know, we have crossed bridges and walls have been broken down, you know, that the gay community are more accepted and integrated into society?
I think it is, and it's vital, and it shows that community cohesion. And I think, you know, we're seeing that across the country, but it's great to see it on your doorstep as well, and know that people can access it and be part of it, and enjoy everything that's going on as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've got some big names coming to Hull for the event this year. Alison Moyet. Yeah. And Mark Almond, of course, from Tate and Love.
Yeah, it's taking me back.
Is it?
Yeah. And Sunita, obviously.
Absolutely.
Who knows what she'll wear.
Yes, exactly. Very, very good, Sunita. Excellent. So let's hope we have some sunshine, Sam. Yeah. Let's hope we have some sunshine. Okay, what's our next story?
There's another piece that caught my eye here, and this is sort of my interest and background in sort of regeneration, and that was a number of iconic landmarks in the region this week that were gifted listed status.
Yes, that's right. So the Humber Bridge has been granted this, I think, Grade 1 listed status.
Grade 1 listed status, yeah.
And the tidal sage barrier, and the home of J. Arthur Rank on Holderness Road, and Pearson Park, a flat where the librarian, the fantastic librarian, Philip Jones, spent his home life. Yeah. And of course he worked at the university as librarian for over 30 years. And again, Hull's having this major renaissance, isn't it?
And I think, you know, it's notable. People nationally and internationally recognise the Humber Bridge, and I think you know, an iconic bridge like that deserves plaudits. I certainly remember it from my childhood, and it was great to see it the first time when I came up here. But you know, there's some historic venues. I mean, there are The toilets are on the list that are in off Victoria.
Number 6.
Victoria Pier, yeah.
Nelson Street toilets, yeah.
And I just think little quirky things like that, it's right, because they're fantastic.
And part of heritage as well. And those toilets, Sam, was opened in 1926, and combined toilets for men and women, which wasn't usual at a time when most public conveniences were for men only, illustrating the changing social status of women during the 20s. So it's great that the toilets have made the list as well and been given that grand status.
And worth visiting.
Yeah. And it was Philip Larkin, not Philip Jones. My mistake there, Sam. Linking to that story then.
Yeah, linked to that is the fact that the Three Crowns mural, which is on the BHS building in the city centre, is not on that list. And I think that's a tremendous shame.
As reported in Tuesday's Hull Daily Mail.
It was, yeah.
And again, that's quite an iconic piece of architecture, isn't it? Above the now defunct BHS store.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when I first came to the city and walked through, and I was told, look up, and I think that's a brilliant example of that particular mural that everybody recognises. It's known within the city, and there's a lot of people behind that in terms of making sure that gets listed status.
Yes,
I hope it does, because the area is ripe for regeneration and development, but it'd be good to see that
and
it
heritage
gets the
as well.
status
And I know earlier, I'm not quite sure what's going on at the moment with this particular piece of architecture, but I know earlier in the year there was reports that it was going to be taken down and demolished, which I think would be an absolute travesty.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Absolute travesty, because it's obviously been there all my life, and I remember it from a young age as being quite an iconic piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it'd be good to see that.
It would, absolutely. Yeah. Renewables next, Sam.
Yes,
renewables.
And this is, I mean, linked to the region, but this is about the fact that Drax Power Station produce 17% of the UK's green energy. Obviously, Drax isn't strictly in the region, but it is served from the port operations that we have here in the Humber, in terms of the biomass that comes into Immingham and is served from there. And I think, given the interest on renewables on the banks of the Humber, this is a good link, because it shows that renewables is here to stay. And it's the cost of generating it is coming down as well, so that's only a good thing.
And again, you know, the renewables industry will put a lot of money into this local area and job growth and development. How important is that?
It's vital. I mean, over the whole life cost of some of these wind farms, you're looking at about £25 billion worth of investment over a 25-year period. That's significant in terms of the jobs created now, but also for the next generation or so. And that's vital that young people and those that are employed in this area get access to those job opportunities. I
was reading a story recently. I think unemployment is at its lowest record now for quite a number of months. But obviously the renewable industry as a whole is going to give young people who are perhaps unemployed, looking for a career path, an opportunity to get into work.
Yeah, I think the market out there is buoyant, and unemployment now in the Humber, I think, is the lowest since something like 1974, which was announced at a Humber Local Enterprise event yesterday. So I think the jobs are there. We've just got to make sure that the right people are getting access to them.
I agree.
The career prospects are good, and
obviously retaining that workforce as well.
Yeah, and that helps keep the wealth in the area, and the region grows.
Here to stay.
Yeah,
here to stay. Sam, next story. We may just have time for one more, I think.
Just one more, and this is in relation to the announcement this week, which is
thank you very much.
An increase in schools funding.
1.3 billion funding boost only softens government cuts, says local MP Melanie Young.
Yeah, I mean, the details are still yet to be announced. I think we can expect those in the autumn statement, but 1.3 billion is not an insignificant amount of money, but we've got to see how much is actually going to come to our areas in the Humber. You know, we've got some incredibly deprived wards within the region, and our young people here deserve the best that they can get, as much as anyone else in this country. So let's just hope the split is fair.
We'll watch this space. Sam, thank you very much for being my guest today. Come back and see me soon.
Will do.
Thank you very much indeed. Now here's Dan with all the sports.
Hull FC host the Huddersfield Giants tonight with a top 4 finish on the line. With a win, the Black and Whites could finish 3rd or 4th, which would mean an extra home game in the Super 8s. Defeat, though, would leave them with 3 home games and 4 away. Tonight's opponents could miss out on the Super 8s altogether if they suffer defeat at the KCOM Stadium and if Warrington pick up a win this weekend. FC won 48 points to 8 away from home at Huddersfield earlier in the season, but coach Lee Radford says tonight's visitors will pose a bigger threat this time around.
I think there was fear in the middle eight solely because of the amount. I think we played him. I think he had 13 blokes missing. You know, I almost felt sorry for him that night and was worried about us boys taking them for granted that they had that many players missing. So, you know, I don't think it's any coincidence. They've got some troops back. They've made some recruits in Jordan Turner and Jordan Rankin. And Rudyard on loan, obviously, and they're looking an awful lot better for it. And, you know, I think that's credit to their coach. I think he's done a real good job there.
Meanwhile, 3 Hull FC players have left the club on loan today. Nick Rawsthorne and Brandon Westerman have both joined Doncaster until the end of the season, while Ross Osborne has gone to York. Elsewhere, Hull Kingston Rovers have their final regular season game on Sunday before the Super 8 qualifiers get underway. They play Halifax at the Shea on Sunday with Thomas Minns, Matty Marsh and James Greenwood all back and available to Tim Sheens. Meanwhile, no new signings have been made by the Robins ahead of today's 5 p.m. deadline, which has just passed. Football Now and Hull City have confirmed yet another departure today, as well as one incoming. Andrew Robertson has joined Liverpool officially in the last couple of hours for a fee believed to be around £10 million. Meanwhile, going the other way, Liverpool midfielder Kevin Stewart's move to the KCOM Stadium has been signed and sealed. The fee for his move to East Yorkshire is believed to be around £4 million, with a further £4 million in add-ons. Stewart is available to play in City's final game in Portugal against Benfica tomorrow. And Grimsby Town beat Tavistock 7-1 last night in the second game on their camp in Devon. A brace each from Harry Cardwell and Sam Jones helped them to a win over the South West Peninsula Premier League side. And in other friendlies, North Ferriby are at Winterton tomorrow, Hall Road Rangers host Armthorpe Welfare, and Cleethorpes Town travel to Barton. And that's all for the sport.
Thanks very much, Dan. That's it for tonight, I'm afraid. As always, if you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages or email news@estuary.tv. You can also phone our news desk, which is Grimsby number 01472315553, or write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN34 5BQ. Thank you to Sam Whitaker for being my guest today with a great review of the papers, and thank you for watching. Have a great weekend from all of us on the team. Good evening.